Let's review some parts of a microscope that you might see in a biology lab. The part that I'm turning right here is called the headpiece. Notice that this one will turn. This one is a binocular microscope, so that means that it has two oculars or eyepieces. If I take this eyepiece off and bring it close to the camera, you'll see that it has a 10x on it. That means that this ocular or eyepiece magnifies 10 times just by itself. So we have a binocular microscope that you can adjust to the width of your eyes, and you can see your objects more clearly. This is the head of the microscope where your lenses or in the old microscopes mirrors were. This is the arm of the microscope. This is how you're going to hold a microscope properly. You're going to hold it by the arm and support it by the base because it's pretty heavy. So you don't want to drop an instrument that is very, very expensive. So I'm going to put it back down. That was my arm and my base. You see this flat surface? This flat surface is called the stage. That's where we're going to put our specimen or our slide to observe at greater magnifications. Above the stage, you see this, which is called the revolving nose piece, if you think the nose is on the head, revolving nose piece, and on it you have objectives. This one is the shortest objective. It has a 4x on it, so it means that it magnifies 4 times. This yellow ringed one has a 10x on it, so it magnifies 10 times. This blue ringed one has a 40x on it, so it magnifies 40 times. And this white ringed one has a 100x on it, so it magnifies 100 times. Now let's say that I had my yellow ringed one, it's the 10x, down into position, and I'm looking at a specimen through my oculars. What would my total magnification be? Well, I'd have to say my magnification of my objective times the magnification of my ocular. So it would be 10 times 10, or my object would be 100 times larger. So with a microscope, we are going to magnify an object. We're going to make it larger, but we also want to make it as clear as possible, and that's called resolution. To make things a little clearer under the microscope, we're going to use a light source. This is the light source. This is one way to turn the light brighter and dimmer. You notice on the back side of the microscope, down here where we plug it in, there's a switch that we turn it on with. And so once we have our microscope turned on, then we can adjust our light either here or with this apparatus that's underneath the microscope. This whole thing under the microscope is called the condenser. And what it does, it condenses the light. The light that's coming from this source goes up through the hole, and we want to capture as much as we can, so it condenses it. To regulate how much light comes in, we have this little lever which is called the iris diaphragm, and what it does, it makes that hole bigger or smaller. So it opens like a camera lens to make more light come in or less light come in through the condenser. So one way that we can improve our resolution is by changing our light. Generally speaking, the lower the magnification, the less light you need. So if you were on 100x, you'd need lots of light. Actually, so much light that we would use a drop of oil on the slide to capture that light. In A&P, we never used 100 oil immersion. We only used the 10 yellow, which is low power, and the 40x blue ringed one, which is high power. We find objects on the low power, and then we turn to the blue power to get a larger view, sometimes clearer view. Remember, when you go to high, you would have to increase your light. So once we get an object on the stage, how are we going to control the stage? Well, we have this coarse adjustment knob, which is the big knob that is more medial. And then there's a smaller knob that's more lateral, that's the fine adjustment knob. We find objects with the coarse adjustment knob. Notice that it's moving my stage up and down, and then I fine-tune with the fine adjustment knob. I only use this coarse adjustment knob if I'm on low power. If I use it when I'm on high power, then I might have the objective come down and break my microscope slide on my stage. So this is the stage. These are objectives on a revolving nose piece. This is the head. These are the eyepieces or the oculars. This is the arm. This is the base. This is the on and off switch. This is one way to regulate the light. This is the condenser. This is the light source. This is another way to regulate the light, the iris diaphragm. The big knob that is more medial is a coarse adjustment knob. The small knob is the fine adjustment